Hello and thank you all for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. The virtual meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Ministers of Water Affairs of Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan was held on Sunday. The meeting was convened by the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa and Chairperson of the AU Executive Council. The ministers exchanged views on the continuation of the trilateral negotiations, focusing on a draft document presented by experts assigned by the Chairperson of the African Union, according to a press release issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ethiopia pronounced its positive outlook towards the draft document and expressed its willingness to use it as a single work document for the trilateral negotiation, it said. Similarly, Sudan conveyed the importance of the document for the progress of the negotiation and its willingness with a defined role of AU experts. Egypt categorically rejected the document, according to the release. Most of the issues on the document on the first filling and annual operation of the GERD are agreed on. The main difference lies on the correlations between the GERD guidelines and rules and the future water development projects on the Abai Basin, it indicated. The GERD is a non-consumptive hydroelectric generating dam. Any agreement over the dam which is being negotiated in the absence of a comprehensive water treaty and the prevalence of an unjust status quo shall be considerate of these fundamental factors. Ethiopia will not agree to a GERD deal that will in any way restrict its right to use the Nile waters, said the statement by the ministry. On this basis, Ethiopia is committed to conclude the negotiation with good faith to reach an agreement. Accordingly, Ethiopia forwarded alternative approaches to Egypt and Sudan, which are hoped to garner their affirmative response, it added. In the coming week, the trilateral meetings will continue at expert level, with oversight of Ministers of Water Affairs to take stock of agreed and outstanding issues to be presented to the Sixth Ministers' meeting that is expected to be held on Sunday, the 10th of January 2021, the release noted. Office of the National Council for the Coordination of Public Participation for the Construction of the GERD says the support from the public is exceeding expectations. While the tripartite negotiations are still going on among the three countries, Ethiopia ramps up efforts to complete one of the biggest hydropower projects in the continent being erected on the river Abai. Solomon Danyi has more.
The completion of the GERD, which the country is building on the river Abai, seems to be imminent. The construction stage hits more than 78%. Ethiopians from all walks of life are sending out supports for the flagship project, exceeding expectations. According to Office of the National Council for the Coordination of Public Participation, 790 million support has been collected from the public in the past 5 months alone, which surpasses the 6th-month plan of the Council. The office recently received a 20 million support from the Federal Housing Corporation. Director General of the office, Aragawi Berehe, while receiving the support, urged Ethiopians to intensify their effort, thereby writing a vivid history of their generation.
Other organizations, corporations and companies should follow suit in providing support for the flagship project. This project is a game changer in the entire country's endeavor. We should repeat history by completing this mega project like what our forefathers did at the Battle of Adwa, which we are preparing to celebrate soon. I call upon all Ethiopians to put their prints on this historical project.
transformation ለሚያመጣው ለሀገራችን በጠቅላላ
The support that has been pouring in from different directions was promising in the past 5 months, said the office, adding that the pace should be ramped up to complete the dam in time.
The people are becoming enthusiastic about the dam like never before. That's what we learned from the support that we got in the past 5 months. We were able to collect 790 million birr, which surpassed our 6 months plan of action. This should be intensified. Our diplomatic efforts should also be augmented to effectively deal with the pressure that comes with the construction.
ወደ 790 million.
The much-anticipated hydropower dam project is expected to start early generation by the end of this Ethiopian fiscal year.
Ethiopia's Planning and Development Commission said its 10-year National Development Plan has prioritized sustainable financial growth, inclusive and quality economy. The Commissioner, Dr. Fitsum Asafa, indicated the current 10-year development plan is aimed at reducing poverty by half and ensuring the prosperity of the nation. Kasahun Chani has more.
The Planning and Development Commission said the 10-year National Development Plan has prioritized sustainable financial growth, inclusive and quality economy. Commissioner Fitsum Asafa indicated that the development plan is a great departure in Ethiopia's economic development to ensure equity and efficiency.
The 10-year plan envisions Ethiopia to be an African beacon of prosperity by 2030. And having this vision at the top, it has this overarching goal of ensuring shared prosperity, prosperity in all its dimensions, where every citizen gets his or share of the cake. So this again, for this to happen, Ethiopia's economy should stay in the high growth trajectory, and we targeted to register 10% average GDP growth over the 10 years' time.
She said the 10-year development plan includes wide-ranging and quality economic growth, sustainable financial institution development, technological capacity building, and digital economic growth. The Commissioner further noted that the 10-year development plan is aimed at reducing poverty by half and ensuring a nation's prosperity.
The private sector is not yet there, especially the domestic private sector. We have been saying that for long, but the question is, when should it start to be there? And because we don't have any replacement for it, do we have substitute? We don't. So the private sector should really come into the driver's seat, and so. When shall we start nurturing it? So that's the question. So now the government really understands the bumpy road that the private sector have been through, and we have not been really supportive enough. As I always say, the relationship between the private sector and the government has been complicated kind of relationship the past decade or so. So now the government really wants to have really a better and a smooth environment for the private sector to have really honored partnership, honored deals, so to speak, transparent deals. So unless we have that honored partnership and deals with the private sector, we cannot really achieve the goals, the ambitions that we set out on our 10-year perspective plan.
The plan is also prioritizing the private sector, green development, institutional building, and access to justice and public service, social inclusion and development and connectivity in the region, and building peace and security.
watching Addis News Hour. The recognition of Little Ethiopia by the Washington, D.C. Council will beef up the tourism industry among the Ethiopian diaspora. Ethio-American political scientist Professor Brooke Hailu made the remark in an interview with ETV English. He has congratulated Ethiopians and the Friends of Ethiopia on the recognition, which was realized after 2 decades. Shifarao Lako reports.
Ethiopian American communities in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area are celebrating the recognition of Little Ethiopia by the council members of Washington, D.C. In an exclusive interview with ETV English, Professor of Political Science Brooke Hailu has expressed his congratulations to Ethiopians and Friends of Ethiopia.
Certain part of Washington, D.C., 9th Street and U, if you guys know that the whole area around that area, 9th Street, U Street, up to 12th Street, that neighborhood now is officially renamed as Little Ethiopia. And all of us are thrilled and happy. All of us are really happy. It took the Ethiopian community 20 years to bring into success the certain part of districts, the historical district of Washington, D.C. be named.
As one of the contributors of the recognition, Professor Brooke recounts the process which spanned 2 decades.
I was involved in that from 2001 to 2004. I was at the time senior diplomat of Ethiopia, stationed in Washington, D.C., and I was working hand in hand with the Ethiopian community. Some members are still there. I could name names. The idea died down. I left to Europe on another assignment after that, and I tried to follow what was going on. Between, I believe, 2005, 2004 until 2009, the idea was hanging up in the air. And guess what? The committee once again reconstituted itself in 2009. They tried again, and they succeeded in 2020, December. That's remarkable. That's remarkable.
Similar efforts will be made to scale up the move to other parts of the country with large Ethiopian communities, he added.
Success is sweet, but the road might be bumpy. And we are glad that now, for always, any Ethiopian, future generation, and when you guys come to America, you have a place to visit, and all tourists to visit called Little Ethiopia. And one last point on that. It's the second city. Los Angeles succeeded before Washington, D.C. in shorter a time. If you go to Los Angeles, there is a neighborhood called Little Ethiopia there. And we want to continue as a wish as an Ethiopian American in Seattle, in Atlanta, in Denver, in North Carolina, in New York and other places.
The recognition of Little Ethiopia by the Council will further bolster and strengthen the social and cultural ties between Addis Ababa and Washington, D.C., he pointed out.
The Abiata Shala Lakes National Park is set to be restoring its aquatic ecosystem. Various lake improvement and environment protection activities are underway to fully restore such lakes meant to preserve the ecosystem of the country. The Abiata Shala Lakes National Park was at risk of vanishing due to the soaring number of cattle herders' daily visit that gradually led to huge loss onto the natural ecosystem of the area. Overgrazing and illegal settlements are increasingly becoming the major bottlenecks facing the existence of the park. But now seems to be a better time for the lakes and their surroundings as their aquatic ecosystems are being restored. Lake improvement and environment protection activities played significant role for this to happen. Head of the Abiata Shala Lake National Park, Banki Budemo, said people living around the park are receiving consistent awareness-raising trainings to scale up their knowledge and attitude towards environment protection. He noted fruitful results have been achieved in this regard.
Policy Matters is a conversation platform which aims to provide reasoned analysis and context to the activities, reforms, and policies of the federal government of Ethiopia. Exploring various reforms the government is undertaking, the conversation platform aspires to enable nuanced and informed understanding.
Why was policy reform necessary? Which started out with the homegrown economic reform and now is the 10-year prospective plan. Why was it necessary?
The growth that Ethiopia has been registering for the last decade or so lacked quality. The 10-year plan envisions Ethiopia to be an African beacon of prosperity by 2030. And having this vision at the top, it has this overarching goal of ensuring shared prosperity, prosperity in all its dimensions, where every citizen gets his or share of the cake.
We both know that the private sector has not been allowed to grow.
Now the government really understands the bumpy road that the private sector have been through.
How do you plan on then getting growth and achieving some of these fantastic ambitions that you've laid down to be achieved through the private sector?
So the private sector should really come into the driver's seat. We have these interim strategies, for instance, the public-private partnership. So it's really working well, especially in areas of energy and infrastructure. We want to expand that, of course, to other sectors too. So that would really augment the capacities of the private sector.
The Eye Bank of Ethiopia announced that it is intensifying its efforts to regain the sight of the visually impaired by coordinating volunteers. Lemlem Ayele, Director General of the Eye Bank of Ethiopia, told ETV that there are many reasons why the donation of eye lenses in Ethiopia is disproportionate to the number of people with cataracts. Emmanuel Jorgi tells you more.
Who had been working as a carpenter and was heading his family by his income only from that work. But the visual impairment he got in later days forced him to stop his job for long years. But after waiting for a long period of time, he has got back his sight in lens replacement surgery, which the lens is donated in Eye Bank of Ethiopia.
Due to the contract in my eye, my left eye was affected not to see things in short distance. I was not able to take things which had dropped from my hand. I could not see things vividly. I was facing such difficulties related to visual impairment. Sometimes I was tricked by my eye by looking the nail I was to hit as if it is 2 and 3 when I was formerly working as a carpenter. Because of that, I am forced to stop that job. It has been 5 years since I came to Minilik Hospital to get this medical treatment of my eye. And now I get the opportunity of getting the donated lens and lens replacement surgery.
Lens replacement specialist and medical director of Eye Bank of Ethiopia, Menen Ayalew, said to see people regaining their sight by lenses donated from volunteers has some great meaning for her.
The youngest for who I run his lens replacement surgeon is a 3-year infant. He has a cataract since he was born. So, starting from that, we have operated up to aged people lens replacement surgery. This child was born with a natural disorder. Some others are caused by accidents, and there are several reasons behind all visual impairments. There are many accidents on eyes of the youth on daily basis. Especially, there are some who naturally are one eye impaired and lose sight of the remaining. So, there is a significant life change when they regain their sight. Maybe some have come with walking sticks, and you can understand how it feels. And that's a big change when you hear them, after the lens replacement surgery, saying, "I could see you today."
Eye Bank of Ethiopia explained that there are many factors contributed for the insufficiency of donation of eye lenses to the number of people with cataracts in Ethiopia.
There is imbalance between the demand and the supply of surgeons and those who want the lens replacement surgery. When the number of the surgery requests rise, we need a big number of optical surgeons. And if so, we also need a high amount of donated eye lens to distribute. So we are educating the public about this matter as much as possible. The number of eye lenses is growing. En route, we wanted to thank all partners who are supporting us. Additionally, we are working to make a fellowship of optical specialist surgeons and to train them, if possible, in our country, and if not, in other well-experienced countries.
እንዲሄድ እየሰራን እንገኛለን።
The Eye Bank of Ethiopia calls for volunteers to donate their eye lens after their death to brighten the life of many who are waiting for eye lens donations to replace their eye lenses in Eye Bank of Ethiopia.